Well, welcome back to my kitchen again. I'm Jim Noble. I say my kitchen. This is Karen in my kitchen. But welcome back, Noble Food and Pursuit cooking series. Today we're going to do Jimmy's crab cakes, one we've been doing at the restaurants for years. Probably one I worked on and kept tweaking the recipe until I got where I wanted. A lot of times crab cakes are too shredded or they have too much filling in them. And so I kept playing with the recipe until we got one that I liked that had tons of crab meat, a little bit of binding in it. We're going to use stone wheat crackers for that. And not too much else. So one thing's Joe and Colin and I were sitting around one day talking about these series. Sometimes we come and do a cooking class like this and we got everything already prepped, ready to go, and it looks like it's going to take like 5 minutes to cook it, but really most of the time I get all what I call my mise en place, things in place before I start the show, and that way as I'm cooking I just pick up the pieces I need and cook. But you know, really truly speaking, I've got to prep all these things ahead of time, so I'm going to do a little of this prep with you. We may edit this for another piece where we talk about mise en place and getting everything together, but today with the crab cakes, we're going to saute some shallots and celery in butter until it becomes tender, and then we're going to let it cool with butter, a pretty good bit of butter. Butter's going to help be some of the binding in it. And then we're going to pick the crab meat. Now I always try to buy jumbo lump crab meat or lump crab meat, but if I get jumbo I can. And I will go through and try to pick out all the shells, but be careful you don't shred the crab meat too much when you're trying to find the shells in it. Just go real gently and pull them out. We'll throw that together with a couple eggs, and sometimes I use chives. Today I'm going to use tarragon. On the recipe I'll put chives or tarragon or a herb of your choice. Some rosemary would be too strong. And then we'll form the crab cakes and we'll cook some. Okay. This recipe calls for crackers, so I'm going to. In fact, I'll try to get you a little bit closer so you can see some of this prep. I'll use a mortar and pestle, and you can do this in a processor, but it's easy to over-process them. And sometimes doing some of these chores by hand the old way seems to be good. They don't have to be a powder, but a good bit of cracker crumbs. This will be a binding, but it won't be too bready. I've used saltines before. I've got some very dear friends. Sally, she uses another kind of cracker. I don't think I'm at liberty to say what she uses, but she uses another type of cracker for her crab cakes. And they sell more crab cakes than most anybody in the world has. So, no more hints who that is. I'm gonna need about 3/4 cup, so that's probably about good for that. I'm gonna use some celery. I love the greens, so I'm gonna chop those up in there too. You see, all this stuff looks like it's been sitting here ready to go, but somebody's got to prep it. And I told my buds that cooking at the restaurant's a lot easier because you got about 9 people that can help you get all your mise en place together. When you're at home, you got to do it yourself. But I enjoy cooking them, so it's all right. I want these about the size, a little bit bigger than a BB. I'm also going to want some of this celery leaves. They got great flavor. Today with this recipe, I'm going to use all right, there's my celery. Then shallots. That was my son. You could use onions. A lot of times I like to use shallots, a little bit more great flavor. You peel them. I'm going to cut them up just like an onion to dice them. Okay. The root end is where the tightest knit is in the shallot. I use it as my axis point to dice these shallots. See, here's a cut away from the root end here, but that's where it's the tightest. And when I begin to cut these shallots, you'll see why I cut towards that spot, but I start in my initial cuts begin at the other end. Sometimes these guys are a little bit rascally. People sometimes like to buy the peeled shallots. I don't prefer those. Sometimes anything that seems to be easier, just for benefit standpoint, loses something in the process. Once I have the shallots peeled, I can slice them. Again, here's the root end. I'm going to slice towards that. Let the rings of the shallots, like an onion, work for you. See, we've been working probably 5 or 10 minutes here, and we're just getting our mise en place together. I want small pieces here again, just like I did on the celery. For this 2-pound recipe of soft shell crab, of these crab cakes, I'm going to use a 1/4 pound of butter. Celery. Shallots. I like to season these just a little bit when I'm doing them. Seems like a lot of butter, but we've got 2 pounds of crab meat to go in here. I love cast iron too. We're going to cook these until they become tender. Again, just sauteing until tender. Seems like a lot of liquid, but that's gonna help bind the crab cake. Okay, I'm gonna pick through the crab meat. I get as much of my seafood as I can from Stone Seafood in China Grove. Not only is he a great seafood monger, but he's a very dear friend, and he takes good care of me. If I need something, I get it from him, and I know it's gonna be right. Now again, this is some jumbo lump. I'm just going through feeling for I don't want these big chunks, I don't want to lose those. I don't want to mash them up. I'm just trying to find those shells that may get through sometimes. You can do it by feeling. And this just came from the coast. Almost didn't get it for this series because they're trying to wait on soft shell crabs. But he was able to get one of his guys to pull us some. See how that looks so nice and lump? So for this recipe, I'm doing two pounds. This one's not as lumpy. If I can get 2 pounds of jumbo lump, I prefer it. This one mixed together pretty good. I have a mix of tarragon, predominantly tarragon, a little thyme, and a little savory I'll chop for this recipe as well. I love tarragon with seafood. I think it's like the most perfect match in the world. I like thyme as well. But instead of chives today, I wanted to use mostly tarragon, thyme, and savory, but mostly tarragon. And I'll fold this in at the end. All right, so now we've got most of our mise en place. All right, we're going to mix the ingredients for the crab cakes. We have the crab meat already in the bowl. I've got a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, the breadcrumbs, crackers. I've got 3/4 of a cup, and I've got the tarragon herb mixture, and then we have the butter, celery, and shallots to go. And that butter and all that goodness and we'll come back and saute right in this pan. Now, what I'm going to do is just gently fold this whole mixture. And I've also have the 2 eggs to go in here. This egg is a binder. I mix everything thoroughly. Again, I'm folding. I'm not mashing or stirring too bad. I'm really just folding to get all these ingredients together so they'll bind. These will make about, 12 or 13, a dozen so crab cakes, depending on the size you want them to be. Now it's starting to hold together pretty good. There you go. All right. Add a little bit more salt. Rather have too much than too little. Little pepper. I'm gonna stir that in there good. Again, I'm folding, not stirring, excuse me. Folding these crab meat mixture. All right. Let's see how it does. All right. There's a crab cake. All right, we'll cook them. Of course, we need a little butter, a little olive oil. Time to turn. Oh yeah.